welcome back to my YouTube channel, and here are some things that I wish I'd known before starting my GCSEs. So first of all, I wish I'd known that it's all going to be okay. Honestly, I had no idea what to expect, and I wish someone had just told me that actually it's going to be okay and it's not that bad. For example, my school had made getting a 9 seem impossible. So we were the first year of the 9 to 1 syllabus, so I suppose they didn't really know what you needed to do to get a 9, and so they basically said, don't bother even aiming for them. But me looking at Oxbridge and being a perfectionist was like, no, actually I'd really like to get a 9. So basically that meant that I worked really hard, like probably way too hard, in the hope of getting them. And then on results day, I got all 9s and A stars, but also loads of my friends that had done like half the amount of work that I did also got a couple of 9s. So I wish I'd known that actually it's not completely unobtainable. But at the same time, as long as you meet the requirements for college, sixth form or university, it doesn't actually matter what you get in your GCSEs. You don't need to get straight 8s and 9s to do well in life. And at the time it seems like what you get is the be all and end all, when actually that's just completely not the case. I remember choosing my GCSEs and getting so worked up about my last option because I was considering taking music or drama because I thought I needed like a creative subject, but I ended up taking computer science and I loved it. And so many people said to me like, oh no, you can't take all academic subjects. And I was taking history and geography as well and a language, and everyone was like, no, don't do it. It's going to be dreadful. And actually it was completely fine. And then when we started, I noticed that people who were taking subjects like art were spending so much time in art, because actually taking a subject like that is a massive commitment. So in a way, I almost think the fact that I took academic subjects made it easier. I think the key is to work smart and not hard. And this is something that I really wish people had drilled into me more. I kind of had this idea that if I just worked really long hours, that it would magically go in and it would magically be okay. And obviously, like, I did really well in the end, but I just think the route to getting there could have been a lot easier, and that's the primary reason why I'm making this video, so that basically you don't make the same mistakes that I did. Definitely ask older students for advice because they've been there, seen it, done it, especially if they're at your school, because they know how your school handles it specifically and what teachers are like, specific things to be aware of, all of those kinds of things. Some more general advice that I can give you though is to stay organised. Make sure that you have all of your notes in one place. So some schools use exercise books, in which case that's much easier. But if you get given like any handouts, make sure you stick them in. If your school says to use paper and like a ring binder file, then make sure that you file it all away straight away, otherwise you're going to lose that piece of paper. I found revision guides really helpful, and I wish I'd bought them straight away so that as I was making my revision resources as I went along, I had them to use, whereas I bought them probably about halfway through. And I just think it would have been much easier if I'd had them from the start. They can be quite expensive, so what I did was I bought all of mine secondhand where possible. So sometimes that did mean using the old specification, but ultimately I found it really similar, especially for subjects like history, where it was more about just learning about that era, in which case the difference in the syllabus was literally negligible. Like, you might have had 1 or 2 years cut off the end or beginning, but honestly, for the price difference, personally, I would get the second-hand ones if you can. Obviously we're now a couple of years into the new specification, so that should be a lot easier. The next thing, which I've kind of already mentioned, is to make revision resources as you go along, because you do not want to be a month before your exams and realise you haven't made any flashcards or revision notes, or however you revise. Make sure you make them as you go along. The next thing is that you will spend a lot of time with certain people. So for me, we had all of our science lessons in one class, so our physics, chemistry and biology, we were with the same people, so you get to know those people really well. I also had a lot of lessons with people in my English set, and often we would have like a free period together, but it wasn't really like a free period because we were supervised by a teacher in a classroom and we all had to be silent. But still, we had a couple of them a week and we'd all be together. And then in a lot of our options, we were often together just because of the way that the timetable had been done. So beware that you may spend a lot of time with certain people. As much as these are the first public exams you will have taken, that doesn't mean that you need to devote your life to it, because academics are not the be all and end all. First of all, like I said earlier, within reason, it doesn't really matter what you get, but also giving up all of your extracurriculars is really going to hurt you in the long run, because yes, you'll have more time, but then you won't be doing the things that you love, so you're more likely to burn out and just generally be miserable. Also, having extracurriculars is great for your CV, your university application, and just generally making you a well-rounded person. So if anything, if you don't have any extracurriculars, then actually I would recommend taking one or two things up, because a lot of my friends didn't do this, and then when it came to writing their personal statements, they really struggled because they were like, well, what do I write about? I literally have nothing. So you can avoid that now by taking up some extracurriculars if you haven't already. And the last thing I wish I'd known is that actually, personally, I would prefer A-levels. So everyone said to me that basically as you go through school, it gets progressively worse, and that like year 7 and 8 are the best because nothing really matters, exams are so far away, and then as you get to like year 10 and 11, it gets a bit worse because you've got exams, and then the sixth form is dreadful. And actually I basically found it to be the opposite. So I found A-levels the best, and then GCSEs, mostly because I was doing the subjects that I wanted to do. And then I found years 7, 8 and lower school basically the worst, just because there were so many subjects that we were forced to do that I didn't particularly like. So yeah, I wish someone had told me that actually it's okay to not find GCSEs like the best time ever. So hopefully that was helpful to anyone who is about to start their GCSEs. Don't forget to subscribe for similar content, and if you have any video recommendations, then please leave them in the comments.